A big mess in Texas, the Miraculous, Disastrous 1952 Dallas Texans, and the craziest untold story in NFL history. Did the story find you, or did you find the story?
Yeah, man, I was a little bit embarrassed that I had covered the NFL for as long as I have, and I had no idea about this amazing sort of like lost story that has been lost to history. So, yeah, just sort of doing my research maybe 8 to 10 years ago about potentially what was the worst team or the worst franchise or the most messed up story in NFL history, and kind of stumbled upon this team that sort of came and went within 5 or 6 months. And so I don't know if it was magic or if it was just luck, but man, I'm glad I found it.
Can we talk a little bit about your history as a journalist? Was it something you wanted to do as a child, or did you just ended up in sports journalism and it was like because you had a favorite team?
Yeah, I was always into the writing part, and it was, I think the style of writing that I wanted to develop, it just lent itself to sports. There just seemed to be better characters and better plot lines and better, more interesting dynamics there. And I was a wrestler and an athlete in college. That's how I paid for school. So the sort of sports part of journalism, it was a natural fit from the beginning.
Number of years at ESPN, how has the business changed since you got into it?
Oh man, yeah, it's between Sports Illustrated and ESPN, I was in the sort of long form magazine business for 30 years, and I would say within the last 5 years, that's just that whole sort of side of the industry is gone. People are still interested in stories and in storytelling. It's just now they want to consume them in different mediums. And so I've been doing a lot of work as a correspondent for Pablo Torre at Meadowlark Media, and that has been really, really interesting and rewarding, sort of telling the same kind of magazine-style stories, but through podcasts and through video and through different mediums. So I'm enthused. I feel like people still want to consume this stuff. They just want to take it in through a different medium.
Wow. It has evolved. Do you think that writers are now into the awe and shock era, versus actual just informing and letting the individual form their opinion on something?
Yeah, I think okay. So when we make the episodes for Pablo, it still feels very much like we're in like an editorial editing meeting. It's just that there aren't words on a page. Now it's like the different, the different video cuts and the scripts, and it all still feels like making a feature story. It's just in a different way. Is that kind of how are you experiencing all the different evolutions?
I feel like more people are into the Howard Sternish approach to sports, loud and opinionated Stephen A. Smith style, versus, I grew up with the Sports Reporter, and they were like four gentlemen in suits and ties having a cordial discussion about the week's, events. And now it's all, scandal, and Cowboys.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that, and you see that a lot, but I feel like there is a pushback. There's still fans who want to sort of quietly and sort of I think ultimately fans will never stop wanting to learn and learn about it, because the more they learn, the better fans they become. And I don't think that will ever go away. Sometimes it gets pushed to the side by all the screaming, but those fans are still there. I think the ones who want to be educated and entertained, and not by the screaming and not by the hot takes. Those fans are there. It's harder to see them sometimes.
Do you agree then that there are two types of fans? I watch football and I'm into the X's and O's and I'm looking at plays develop and I'm looking at who's out of position. Then there's the casual fan who is there for the wings and beer. Uh, do you think the industry is catering more to the, to the, of course, the populace, which is the average fan, and really leaving the the X's and O's guys out of the equation?
I think there's so many options now that I think that there are different platforms and there are ways to reach all the different fans. And I think you're right. I mean, it's easy to get disappointed and bummed out by what seems like, just the nonstop sort of, headlines and hot takes and stuff like that. But I think fans like yourself who are really smart and understand the game, they're still going to be able to find, the people like Mina Kimes and people like Pablo Torre who are still doing sort of like the great X's and O's, the great reporting. That stuff is still there, and I don't think fans will ever sort of tire of that.
Your book, The Big Mess in Texas, A Big Mess in Texas, let me get it right. It deals with social issues that affected the team, right? There were, in this day and age, we kind of had that kind of thing with the kneeling and all that stuff and the NFL. But back then, this was an integrated team that was going up against the KKK, and it had house bombings. I mean, there was just a lot of social influences. Do you think that was more than just a dysfunction of a team?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jose, because this is part of the reason why this team shouldn't be lost to history. Why people who are real fans like yourself should know the story of this team. And basically, they were the first attempt to integrate sports in Texas. Probably 15 years before the Texas Longhorns integrated their roster. And so people need to know that one of the reasons why the Dallas Texans went bankrupt and broke so quickly is that in the Jim Crow South, they underestimated how little Dallas was willing to support a team with black players on the roster, and not just players on the roster. I mean, Buddy Young and George Talfaro, who have been called the Jackie Robinsons of the NFL, they were the Texans' two best players. And so imagine them and what they had to endure in Dallas in 1952, where they had to live in a section of town that was being bombed regularly by the KKK. So I don't know how men survive the NFL just from an athletic standpoint. And now imagine having to do that and deal with your life being in danger 24/7. It's a crazy part of the story that people shouldn't forget.
When you're writing this book and you're sitting around and you're gathering information, the research process, what did you enjoy the most, or what didn't you like the most in the researching?
Oh, you know what's fun? I love it all. I love the treasure hunt, the sort of Indiana Jones, digging through archives and old film and talking to family members. That stuff to me doesn't feel like work. But I'll tell you, the grandson of the Dallas Texans owner is Rhett Miller, who's the lead singer of the band the Old 97s. And this whole project started for me when I was able to talk my way backstage at an Old 97 show and introduce myself to Rhett Miller and tell him about my interest in his grandfather's team. And Rhett and I ended up talking for like 2 hours right before he was supposed to go out on stage. And ever since then, he's been a huge help with the research and with the family archives and things like that. So getting to know Rhett and his connection to the team, and while enjoying sort of the Old 97s, that has been maybe the most fun research I've maybe ever done.
I was going to compare this team to the Jets franchise, but I think that these individuals endured a lot more in history as groundbreaking or an attempt to break ground. Now that you look back and your book is out, what should fans expect out of this read?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for people who, like myself, thought they knew everything about the NFL and about NFL history. It's a great way to sort of to learn something new, and especially about. I think current fans will love learning about the 1950s era of the NFL, before the TV money kicked in, before the players became sort of household names. It's a crazy, colorful, wild era of the NFL that doesn't get enough attention. And it was violent, and it was colorful, and it was fun. And I think current fans will love sort of like taking a trip through 1950s NFL.
All right. Thank you very much. A Big Mess in Texas, The Miraculous, Disastrous 1952 Dallas Texans, and the Craziest Untold Story in NFL History by archaeologist David Fleming. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jose. I appreciate it.